Welcome back to the channel. I hope you all are having a great day. Um, when Andrew Yang left the campaign trail, one of my greatest fears were that the topic of universal basic income was going to grow cold and we were going to become less active. The Yang gang, the universal basic income marches would slow down, would stop because Andrew Yang had been such a central figure to introducing the entire concept and idea to us. I knew then, much like I knew now, that those type of revolutionary ideas and changes is what was needed and what's needed in leaders that we can look forward to help us have a better future here in America. And so Andrew Yang did all those things, and uh, unfortunately, I think the ideas were maybe too radical, too early, too soon. Although I don't think the need of it is too soon. I think in the minds of most Americans, this was just such a fresh new foreign concept. I think that it just kind of stopped a lot of Americans in their tracks, and they kind of had to regain their orientation. Um, and so Andrew then did the strategically the best move he could make was going to be to not waste time, um, talking about woulda, coulda, couldas, woulda, shouldas, but now look forward to who's going to likely be the candidate and what we can do to support him, with the alternative being Donald Trump remains president. Now, what is the problem with Donald Trump, right? What is the real issue with Donald Trump, and why is it so important that people understand what Donald Trump is? Um, it's not what you think it is. The problem with Donald Trump is not in him being some type of narcissist. That's what some people believe it's all about. Some people just don't like the bravado that Donald Trump carries, and I don't think that's the problem at all. The real issue is there is a false idea that's floating around about the fitness of this economy. It doesn't take a lot of research to be done to look back, look at our state of affairs and our economy in America. Prior to the COVID crises, many of us recall or remember that we've been faced with a great amount of economists saying that we're headed to recession. People were feeling it with loss of jobs already. Even pre-COVID, Americans were suffering greatly, um, as a whole. And interesting enough, Donald Trump during Obama's administration spoke a great deal about how the unemployment numbers were false under Barack Obama. But the issue is that Donald Trump, the same metrics that were used to determine the unemployment numbers of Barack Obama, Donald Trump said those numbers were false and that the unemployment rate was much higher. Well, now Donald Trump's using that very same metric, and he's saying that the unemployment situation was not as bad. And this was prior to COVID, right? We're talking pre-COVID. Of course, COVID was the tipping point to make things a great deal more difficult. In short, the numbers that are being put out there by the Trump administration about the economy, and I can link you all to many reports and a lot of information about this false idea of a good economy here in America, um, is not the case. And that's a huge problem because if that's not the case, then we're on a course of events that are going to get ever so worse. And uh, false information isn't going to help us much. The other thing is we get back again before the COVID crises, and we're looking at jobs being automated away. So you basically have two, really three crises as we're going into 2021. That my fear is we're going to go in with the attitude that we've had with the Trump administration that spent more money, it was way higher in debt than the Obama administration. Even before COVID, Republicans were spending a ton of money, right, under the Trump administration. Right, the fiscal conservative idea of the Republicans weren't even there, so much to the point they weren't even calling it the Republican Party anymore. They was calling it just the party of Trumpism. Right? They had lost all those things. So three crises as we go into 2021. The first is the fake economy and recession. The second is the leftover of COVID. And the third takes us back to all the issues we had before, which is automation. As it improves and is set to, over the next decade, displace over 47% of the job workforce. Putting out false numbers, false narratives, and not creating a solution on how you're going to deal with these displaced workers in this troubled economy, how you're going to, as we even see now from COVID, how the difficulty of how we're going to feed people who were just void of their unemployment benefits until Trump signed an executive order giving many families, believe, not enough money, but when we look at it through that scope and that lens, this is a crisis economy we're in, right? It's nobody wants to tell us that, because the reason being is that if they tell us that, they're going to get blamed for it, right? The Trump administration will be blamed for it. So we're going to get more false information about situations. The only telltale sign is going to be when you see your neighbor suffering, when you're suffering, everybody's around you suffering, right? And those things are coming. And we're going to need to do things in order to prevent that. There is not much can be done. And no matter how many people I have this conversation with, talking across the aisle with them from all different walks of life, one thing they agree on is that pretty much this is going to occur, and the workers who get displaced, these American families that are going to suffer from this, there's nothing can really be done about it, because human beings, it is unrealistic for us to believe that many Americans can be retrained and that we all become computer programmers, right? Just not going to happen. Human brain doesn't work that way. We don't function that way. And we're in a stage of artificial intelligence that we've never been at before. So we're in the undiscovered country, in a sense. We're in a territory we're not familiar with. Let's now talk about Joe Biden. As we understand why we can't have Trump as another presidency. I know some people are Trumpers. I know some people like Trump's attitude. I guess they like how he makes them feel as an American. But I would ask you to consider the reality of the situation and where we're at in the serious nature of this. And playing politics is not the solution. Looking at Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, two heavily flawed people politically, there's no question about that. And I wouldn't dare try to defend many of their past records. But they're what we have in this situation. And here are some of the differences. Where it is true, we're looking at essentially two moderates, right? Now, to some, moderates might not be a bad thing. To some people who are very progressive, it might be, a horrible thing, right? My politics is I'm for what works in a particular situation, right? I'm flexible in that way to what's the best route that can be taken. I'm not beholden to any linear form of thinking in that way. But these individuals who, by many definitions, would be considered like more moderate, or at one point were in the Kamala Harris's um, situation where she's went quite far left. She's supporting AOC. Not only is she supporting AOC's Green New Deal, the Bernie Sanders movement, but she's also in support of reparations on the highly black syndicated radio show, The Breakfast Club. She basically was open to giving about $500 additional per month to black families. Now, what I liked about that from Kamala Harris, she didn't back down from reparations. She didn't try to weasel her way out of it, but she presented an idea that could work, right? It's some solution, which many candidates didn't do. So I respected her courage in that. Now, good potential futures, unfortunately, don't wash out the bad of past results. Her record as a prosecutor, Joe Biden's history with the crime bill of the 1990s, these are things that have caused a lot of people to suffer. Now, I happen to grow up in the 1980s, and I could tell you that I remember some rough times with a lot of the gangs around the countries, the color wars, many of these things that caused a lot of people to lose their lives and caused a lot of communities to be living in fear. And I could tell you that uh, when you're in a situation where there's danger, where people are getting killed, you could be potentially hitting drive-by shootings and this, that, and the other. There's a different mindset about the legal system. What I hear is a lot of people who talk about the crime bill, and again, I'm not excusing this. I'm not saying that any of the routes Joe Biden took, or Bill Clinton, or any during that era was the right move. Absolutely not. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that these were difficult times where solutions weren't always readily available, right? And so it's kind of easy to go back and say, oh, you put all these people in jail and this, that, and the other, that were drug dealers and part of gang violence. But, the situation as it were then, there had to be something done, and people need to get things done. The other problem I would have with people who look um, back at that period of time and look at certain areas of the world today, like Chicago and the killings in Chicago, and ideas like black on black crime and so on and so forth. The problem I have with some of the thought processes that go into this, especially people who aren't part of those communities, is that um, it's kind of easy to blame certain situations on whether it be the people involved in them or certain politicians, when there are things that have went into play that have created these environments. For example, nobody talks about the contribution to the from the Reagan era to a lot of drugs that got flooded into these communities and areas, and people set up this concept that people brought those things on themselves, or they created certain situations for themselves. But if you've, through government policy, through taxes, through political machines, trap certain groups of people in certain conditions, and then put certain things in front of their face, then what you've done is almost like, it reminds me of this James Bond movie I saw. I believe it's called The Quantum of Solace. And there's a scene, spoilers coming up if you haven't seen The Quantum of Solace. Sorry about that, but there's a scene where James Bond puts a guy in the desert, and when he leaves him in the middle of the desert with no way to get out of the desert, and then he throws him a quart of oil, and he leaves him. Now, if you're dying of thirst in the desert, what are you going to do? You're going to drink the oil, and that's what this guy did. He ended up drinking the oil. Now, that's similar to many of these areas like Chicago and a lot of drugs that got flooded into these areas. So the political machine is responsible for many of these things, and it's not just on the people. And we skip over that and we jump to present day. Now, back to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, their roles of participation in these things, and just many other things with Joe Biden that's kind of been a stain on his political career over the last 40 years. Here's what I say to that. The differences with someone like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they have shown that they're flexible and they can make shifts when needed. Kamala Harris went from somewhat the moderate to, as far left as you can get. And Joe Biden has surrounded himself with people like this. And, of course, our main concern being Yang Gang is, we understand that Andrew Yang's been promised a position in Joe Biden's cabinet, right? The only point I'm making here with this whole scenario is that both Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they at the very least have shown themselves to be reformable, right? And what can be a complicated 21st century world for us. And we're going to need that type of thing. Someone like Donald Trump, who is going to try to lead the country forward in this fake economy that everybody knows is fake. And if you don't believe it's fake, just do a little research. And the economy has been the only saving grace of Donald Trump. Donald Trump has failed in every area with the exception of the economy. That's not even real itself, and that's very problematic, right? And so these are the dangers we're looking at, and this is why I believe we're at no choice but to go this route. Also, it's just very much in line, again, if you're Yang Gang, it's just very much in line with our policies, right? Kamala Harris, in my opinion, is probably the best pick Joe Biden could have made, right? Because Joe Biden, if he does win, he probably won't get a second term. He's going to need someone who has experience in Washington, D.C. I think we've learned our lessons by sending people to Washington who don't have the experience. It's just such a cesspool in Washington. I think it's become unrealistic for us to dream about sending people to Washington, D.C. to make changes. I think the only people that we can really have work in Washington, D.C. is going to be on a similar step like Andrew Yang's doing, aligning himself with the part of that place where with the people that you can work with. Not that you agree with all the people and everything they do, but at least being able to put yourself on track to get some things done. And that's what Andrew's doing, getting in Joe Biden's cabinet, trying to stay relevant by having CNN pay for free marketing. Maybe not the best what we wanted to happen, but it is the best we could do under the circumstances, right? Yang Gang, we have, I believe, became lukewarm on universal basic income. My project, Bitcoin MYK, we can't all be politicians. we can't all go out and make changes that we need to make. But as individuals, we can be part of causes. And what I'd like to bring you guys' attention to is that um, I think UBI. I agree with Andrew. It needs to happen on the governmental level, but I think that UBI, it needs to also happen in more of the private way, right? In the private areas. And that's why we're creating products that support universal basic income ideas, right? Like our project Bitcoin MYK that uses cryptocurrency to fulfill the idea of universal basic income in the private amongst citizens, but at the same time working alongside government, because I think this problem is just going to be too big for us not to do it that way. But make sure you join the site today. Remain vigilant in universal basic income, right? It is the solution. Many economists agree with it. It is not just wishful thinking and a dream from a bunch of weirdo, hippie, liberal, progressive, whatever you want to call them. It's actually at the root a very conservative idea. It's a very logical idea. Um, and conservatives like Milton Friedman have a voice, similar ideas that I think work in a great deal in line with the ideas of where we need to go in this particular economy. But that's all I want to say in this video. Those are my thoughts on what's happening here with the pick, Andrew Yang, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris, say what you want about her, but she does seem like she is capable when it comes to strength and leadership. Now, her policies have changed over the years. You know, her and Joe Biden, it's important that you understand that these people have taken different positions than from the last 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, right? And that might be part of their growth, and that might be necessary, but it is important that we do understand that those actions taken then don't necessarily mean that they're the same people now. And looking at their politics, let's just go over it a little bit again, just to wrap it up so we're not confused about this. Joe Biden has placed Kamala Harris and Andrew Yang in his cabinet, essentially, or that's what's going to happen, it looks like. And these are not moderate Democrats, right? These are not moderates. Kamala Harris, although she's been accused of, well, not accused, her prosecutor record is out there, and it's not a good one. But she's also, you know, talked about reparations for blacks and put forth policies on that. So a lot of people feel she's anti-black. She's out to hurt blacks. But I would encourage you to watch her Breakfast Club interview and get a little bit more into her politics of today. So these are actions of people who can seemingly change and be flexible. And that's a good thing, because then many of these things in the past that could have been negative, very negative for us in the future, maybe some things we don't have to worry about. And looking at our alternative, I don't think we have much of a choice at this point, you know, other than to, and I don't like to play lesser of two evils. That's why Trump's in the White House now. But I will say that there is just the realism of what's happening, and that's where we're at with this. But I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts and opinions on this. Don't forget to support BitcoinMYK.com. It is a universal basic income project made for you. The link is in the description. There are chat rooms in there. You can talk it up. You can earn some of this cryptocurrency, and we can help to, whilst we're waiting for Andrew Yang to become president, make this a possible future that we desperately need. If you like content like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and until next time, take care.